All right, and we are live. Welcome back to the Can You Survive Recap Show, Night 4. As always, we are your hosts. I am Isaiah Kidd from Season 5, The Great Mountain.
And I'm Kevin Rodriguez from Season 6, the most recent season, Tides of War.
And again, like I said, welcome back. So again, as always, we're going to talk about the events of today, the vote outs, things that happened, which I will say there were a couple of juicy moments that happened today for sure. And we're just getting right into it. As always, if you guys have any questions or any comments that you guys want to leave in the chat, feel free to. We can see them right here on our stream, so we will answer them periodically as we can. Just let us know if you have anything that you are curious about. Okay, so we started today with our final 11. If you missed yesterday at all or anything, recap at all, we have our final 10 plus Brian, who earned his way back from the hunting grounds and joined Bigelow in that merge tribe. So we started today with a trivia / classic survivor challenge, usually called idle hands. So you have something that you're holding on to and you got to knock the plate off. So basically the players had to answer trivia questions. If they got it wrong, they get into the ring, they knock one off, the person who wins takes somebody out from that circle. And then it's just an elimination kind of thing. And we saw Tyler, my sister, win that immunity. And she beasted it. She won, I think, 5 or 6 in a row. And she killed it. So yeah, that's basically it. When it came down to the vote, this is kind of where we were, I think me and Kevin especially, we were very interested to see, after having a night of thinking and strategizing, having a brand new person who, again, was the second person voted out of this game, so didn't really know anything about any of these players or their dynamics, where this vote was going to go. And also, too, this merge tribe is filled with, I would say every single person is a player.
Yeah, this is the first merge vote, like very, very big one. And I mean, these people, we heard that they were strategizing in the morning before there was even a challenge, before the vote was even coming.
When we were walking them in, we walked into their camp and every single person was paired up, just having strategy, like before they even knew that we were coming. So it was from the jump.
We knew this was going to be a wild vote, and it was.
Yeah, it was for sure. So we got into the tribal, and first things first, actually, is that there was an idol hidden in the tribal site, and it was behind the Can You Survive sign. And it seemed that a lot of people had noticed that it was there, but no one knew when to kind of grab it. It was slightly public, but not really. And at one point, Brianna decided to make a move, and not so gracefully went for the idol. Kind of stumbled out of her seat, but she did grab the idol. So Brianna had an idol in her pocket. Again, very public, very noticeable. Everyone kind of understood. But hey, she had a little bit of power. And then when it came down to the vote, we ended up seeing some votes for Bergen and for Brianna and for Cam. But ultimately, Bergen did receive most votes. There were some like throw votes that seemed to be put into play. I don't know if it necessarily was because they might have thought that maybe Bergen had an advantage, or
it was just I was there at the confessional booth, and these were funny. So this was Jazzy, Taylor, and Melissa, who are all people who have played this game before, and all of them have noted themselves to be agents of chaos.
Yes.
There was no strategy behind these. It was truly, well, the minor strategy is, I want to make people feel scared, and I want to prime the next vote, which is important, and we'll get to the next 2 votes. But these little hanky votes that they knew it was going to be unanimous Bergen, they said, well, then let me take a little bit of my autonomy of knowing there'll be enough majority votes on Bergen to have a little fun.
Yeah.
And they said some fun things at the confessional booth.
Nice.
So it was in jest, but also I think good strategy on all 3 of them part.
I love it. Yeah. So we saw Taylor and Jazzy throwing some hanky votes at Cam, and then Melissa throwing a hanky vote towards Brianna, along with Bergen, who obviously was voting Brianna because, Bergen's not going to vote for himself. And also I think as well, I appreciate that the people that they threw the hanky votes at were people that had obvious idols. Like Cam and Brianna both at that point, everyone knew they had something. So just to be like, hey, I feel like it was to spook them. I felt like it was like a, hey, you might want to play your idol. Like, we see you, we're watching you. to kind of push them to maybe play it as soon as possible. But yeah, ultimately Bergen did go with getting 7 votes and became the first member of our jury. Then we moved on to the next round.
There we go. So next round was a fun challenge that if you go back and watch the streams, you'll hear Alan, our host, go, "It's a snake!" And that was the name of the challenge. Very cool kind of concept. They were balancing a ball on this winded wooden kind of path, and they were holding a stick that they would kind of navigate and move this platform side to side. The further that they could get it across the platform, the more points they would get. So if I just put my ball on the platform and it fell to the right or the left, I get 1 point. If I'm able to navigate it all the way to the end of this path, I got 10 points. And they played in heats, which we were hoping to kind of add a social element to it. Of first 2 people were picked at random, the loser was eliminated, and the winner would pick the next 2 people for the heats. They ended up being pretty diplomatic about it and just picking 2 people who hadn't played. In my season, we saw that they actually would pick the winner plus another person, so to try and just throw the people that were good at this game back in there over and over.
Right.
So interesting dynamic that we didn't see play out.
Yep.
And in the end, we ended up seeing Dave, Tyler,
Nope,
Cole. There's a lot of people that won.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Cope won this individual. Jeez. Cope won this individual immunity. And then we get to the actual vote itself. So Tyler was a big standout the previous round. Got a very visible win. And kind of the dynamic of what had ended up happening here is you had the 3 green going into the merge. One of the green gets knocked off with Bergen. And then cream and red are kind of playing this like chicken or brave game where instead of actually taking shots at one another, they just said, "I'm going to go for Tyler." And almost every single person that went up to that voting booth said, "I don't even want to do this vote, but I'm going with the group. I don't want to do this vote, but I'm going with the group." And that's when you can see that these power players are afraid to strike at each other because they know how much influence the other power players have. And that's something that you see in early merge votes is people are afraid to strike because if you strike and you fail, you could go out. Or if you strike and succeed, you could go out later for being a threat that successfully knocked out a threat.
Absolutely.
And so while I think it can be a little bit boring gameplay and somebody like Tyler can get the brunt end of that, I think it's smart in some ways too on a lot of these power players to say, "I'm not going to make the move yet."
Yeah.
So we ended up seeing Tyler go out in an 8-1-1 vote, 8 votes for Tyler. And then 1 vote for Brian, which is who Tyler was targeting. And then we saw a vote towards Brianna. And that was out of pure loyalty. Matt ended up saying that he's not going to vote for Tyler at a pre-merge tribal. Tyler really said that she would fall on the sword for Matt if somebody else had the charity advantage and said, "You know what, I'll go home if that's the case." So Matt kind of had that loyalty. And I think that's a testament to the game that he was playing. So go to the next tribal.
So yeah, so then we go into our next round. This was also kind of a, I guess, is a similar version to, I think, a challenge we might have seen on Survivor, where basically you have a little paddle and a handle, and you're just stacking a tower of blocks, and you're just trying to basically keep this tower from falling. After intervals, you just add extra levels. And I would say this one was pretty quick. I feel people could not, and it was also very windy at that moment during the day. People were falling pretty quickly, and it came down to Brianna and Matt at the end, with I would say half a second difference. They had both stacked the next little level that they were told to stack, and one tiny block, not even the whole tower, just one little block fell off of Brianna's, and right after Matt fell, to the point where Matt truly thought he lost. Matt's first reaction was like, "Ugh." And then he realized that he won, and he like freaked out.
Yeah.
So Matt became the next individual immunity winner. So again, we're keeping this streak of different people winning immunity each time, which personally, in like TV or allergies, anything like that, I love watching when someone isn't just like boom, 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 winning, because it changes the dynamic and the power position for people. Because like I think a lot of them were saying, I know Matt was saying, and I think Colt was saying it as well, is that when you have that around your neck, it gives you more agency, it gives you more pull to kind of do whatever you want and make those shots because you can't be touched.
Yep.
You know, so it's a really fun dynamic. So we go into tribal. Again, Brianna has her idol that everybody knows about. Cam has his idol that everybody knows about. And for the past 2 rounds, so for Tyler's round and for Bergen's round, Cam said both times that he was going to play his idol. He was going to play his idol, and just because, he just didn't want to have it in his pocket. And there was some kind of like bluff that he was trying to see if people would call it, and he somehow convinced people to not vote for him, to where he sat and he didn't play his idol. He said he would play it, and then he never did for the first 2 rounds. Then, oh yes, oh my gosh, I completely forgot about that. Yeah, Brianna did play her idol the last round, right?
So quick correction, Brianna actually found this idol last tribal and did actually negate 1 vote against herself. They were worried. Brianna was worried that the votes could be going her way. Unfortunately, she ended up playing it too early. And played it, negated 1 vote against herself at that tribal that Tyler went home. So she found the idol and ended up playing it pretty soon after. So then I guess to this tribal, still continuing there. Yes. Brianna does not have an idol.
So yes, Brianna does not. Yeah. So Brianna does not have her idol. Cam does have his idol. And this time around, Cam did end up playing his idol. And also too, I guess we forgot to completely start with this. The hunting party got their advantage. So Matt, Dave, and Bergen all started today, in the beginning of the day, with an extra vote in their pocket. So then, because we also saw that come into play in this round. So the vote came down to 5 for Brianna, 4 for Cam, and 1 for Culp. But Cam did end up playing his idol. Not necessarily, obviously, it wouldn't have mattered because Brianna still got 5 votes due to the fact that Dave decided to play his extra vote in this round and was given, and gave Brianna those 5. So Cam did make the correct move, because if he had not played his idol and Dave had not made that extra vote, there would have been a tie between Brianna and Cam. And again, it's possible that Cam would have gone before Brianna. So he still did make the correct move. I feel like anybody in the right.
I would have bet that if they went to a revote, Cam would have gone home.
Yeah.
The whole goal was they saw both Cam and Brianna. They were a duo together, and they were 2 of the biggest threats in the game.
Yep.
And they said, we need to get rid of the idols in the game, and we need to possibly get rid of a big threat, so we don't care who goes home.
Right.
But there was this, several people went up to the voting booth, and they gave Cam his flowers. Like, people were saying, Dave, and I quote, says, and I paraphrase, says, you are the best LRG player I've seen in the United States, and that is why I'm voting for you.
Wow.
And I was like, this is a massive compliment.
That's a huge compliment.
I think Cam's very impressive. Whether that's true or not, no, I can Cam, you're fucking good. Massive compliment. So several people were giving him compliments to the point where it's like, both Brianna and Cam were identified as massive players there. So, pausing quick, if you guys do have any questions of any of the dynamics or somebody you're voting for or rooting for, there we go. Does Brian have an idol from Fern? I thought I heard that from Tea Time. Excellent question. So Brian has Fern's idol. Mm-hmm. Fern's idol was valid when Fern was in the game. Once Fern was voted out of the game, that idol no longer became valid. Mm-hmm. Fern actually gave that idol to Joel, I think, at first, and then Joel gave it to Brian. And so Brian's kind of keeping it in his pocket as
a possible decoy.
Yeah,
a fake to kind of. I think so. What I had heard was
it's not valid.
It's not a valid idol. It's a real idol, but it's not valid anymore. The Hunting Grounds group kind of all agreed that they would give Fern's idol to whoever made it back in order to stir up some kind of thing with the remaining people. Because at the end of the day, the Hunting Grounds, for the most part, it seemed like they just wanted whoever went back to get as far as possible.
Yeah.
Because the people who stayed in the game the whole time, they didn't get to experience what they went through. So you kind of, I feel like I understand that they would root for each other. So that was kind of their plan. So who knows if Brian eventually might use it down the line. I feel like it's pretty smart. So far, we haven't heard any like whispers that he has shown anybody. But I think if Brian, at any point in a dire situation where he really feels like he is the target, if he can do it correctly, he might survive that vote by being like, "Hi, hello," because he has the physical idol. So it's not, he can literally be like, I have it. Y'all have seen this before, played by Cam, played by Brianna. You know what it looks like, and it looks exactly like this. Yeah. It's not something I made up. So it's a little bit more leverage for him to possibly get himself further, which I'd be pretty impressed, and I would like to see that. So yeah, great question. Thank you so much. But like I said, yeah. So Brianna ended up going home again, 5-4-1 with the 4 votes nullified for Cam, and the 1 vote was for Brianna. Oh, sorry, from Brianna for Culp, which seems to be that Brianna was kind of just left out of the fact that Cam was the other option, or it's possible because Brianna and Cam were so close, Brianna might have had a moment like how Matt had with Tyler, where it was like, hey, I can't write this person's name down because we were allies. We were too close. We were so close for the entire game. But yep, Brianna became the 3rd member of the jury, and we moved on to our next round.
Yeah. Quick little shout out to Dave, who did play his extra vote
Yes.
at that tribal, and led to not having to revote. And
smart move.
Well, I mean, the idol is what led to not having to revote.
Sure.
But together, if Cam had not played his idol, Dave was really using that precaution to say, I'm going to get rid of my extra vote, get the target off my back, and here's a good time to use it.
And I feel like it's possible that he probably used that extra vote because, again, in the last 2 rounds, Cam said, I'm going to play my idol, and he didn't. So Dave was like, just in case you don't play it again, let me do this.
I thought it was a good move.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. That's the same question. So moving on to the next challenge, which is a fun one here. It was a 2-part challenge. So first part was they were read a story, a very long story with a lot of details, and it was kind of trying to memorize as much as you could. And then after they heard that story, they then had to run to different stations that were pretty far away. Players were getting very exhausted.
Yeah.
They had to run from their starting point to that station where there was a question about the story that had answer A, B, C, and they had to answer that correctly. If they answered it correctly, they got to grab a ball that represented the point that said, I got this question correct, run it all the way back to the start, and then go and try to do all of these different stations. If they got it wrong, they had to go back to the beginning station. And so with the winner of that first part of the challenge, which was Brian, he got the ability to basically put the remaining, or all 8 players into a bracket, because the next part would be in heats. It would be players going 1 versus 1, and just a typical bracket here where you have 2, 2, and 2 and 2, and then you end up going all the way to the end there. Sports bracket. Yes. Oh, Fraser's here.
Fraser!
Yes, Terry, that's correct. We agreed that any returnee would take it in.
Thank you, Fraser.
Shout out to Fraser, who was so close to winning the buyback and could have been our Brian in this situation and would have kicked some
Love you,
ass.
Fraser. Miss
Love
you.
Man. So getting to that challenge, so Brian ended up being able to choose the bracket. He ended up choosing who was going against who, and we ended up seeing actually a photo finish between Cam and Taylor.
Yeah. Photo finish.
Which ironic, Brian is the one who won, put himself against Taylor, and Taylor ended up being the one winning the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where you never know who's going to be good at what challenge and what strengths they hold. And so Taylor ends up winning individual immunity, and Cam was the guy with 9 lives. And especially getting that photo finish in the individual immunity challenge, it was just front and center for everyone that, like, this guy can take it all.
Yep.
And so unfortunately, I'm not going to belabor the point on this one. It ended up just being a 7-1 vote on Cam, and the 1 vote was for Brian. Cam tried to pull the whole, Brian's got a story at the end, he can win this underdog thing. Nobody was really buying it. Whether they bought it or not, now was not the time in their heads.
Right.
Everybody, when they showed their vote for Cam, it was giving this man his flowers, because Cam did play a great game. If you all don't know, he has been our host of Can You Survive over the years, and knows a lot about this game, has done well in other games, and is just a great guy and is a smart dude. And so massive props to that guy.
For sure.
But that was unfortunately the end of Cam's game.
So then we move on. So after actually a couple of hours after production gets their dinner, and the remaining 7 players are thinking, we might be done for the night. Let's just kind of relax and lay by the fire, get our sleeping bags out. We surprise them and let them know they are not done with today. So I personally got to go into the Bigelow camp and pick them up to bring them to their next challenge. And their next challenge was one that I personally have experienced and I personally do not like. But it's a good challenge. It's an endurance challenge where you basically are barefoot and you are putting your foot on these tiny, tiny little wooden footholds. holding yourself up between basically your forearms and your wrist and everything, and you are holding on for dear life. And I will say, we saw a fight out of literally almost every single person for quite a while, longer than I think maybe people in the Great Mountain probably had lasted when I played my season. And it came down to, by the end, we got to our second little level of footholds, which are even maybe half the size of the first footholds. We even got 2 offers. The first offer was 2 s'mores, because we were evilly making s'mores in front of them. Well, not in front of them. They were facing away from us, but we were still making s'mores by the bonfire as they were in pain. And then we got an offer of some pulled pork / chicken with some mac and cheese and some barbecue sauce. So they were given some temptations, but nobody took those temptations. And definitely, you could tell that these players were there to win that immunity. And it came down to Matt and Melissa. And during that time, Matt and Melissa definitely had a little bit of banter back and forth. Matt was trying to say, do you think you can hold on? To Melissa, I'm solid. Melissa was saying that, telling Matt, hey, you've already had an immunity before, give this to me, come on, let's make this work. And eventually, they got to the point where Alan, our host, told them that they had to no longer have any of their upper body basically touching the sides of the structure, and it was just a balance game / endurance with the pain on your foot game. And they lasted both way longer than I thought. I want to say we almost probably got to a minute, maybe about 30 to 40 seconds, 45 seconds, I'll say, of them just full on holding themselves and balancing themselves on these tiny, again, maybe half an inch about. And Melissa ultimately won and took out Matt. And Matt, again, struggling to almost walk, both of them. He did not, unfortunately, pull out that second win for him. So again, we get a streak of just individual winners, all completely different people. And yeah, so then we get into surprising them again, also with a tribal tonight, and not just the challenge. So after we get into that tribal, there was, I would say, probably more scrambling than I probably anticipated. I thought that maybe because we're a little bit less, less in the numbers, that it'd be maybe a little bit more simpler. But I would say maybe we got the same kind of scramble that we got in the beginning of the day with the final 11. And ultimately, once we got into that tribal, it seemed to be that there was a lot of talk about how Matt might have possibly been a little bit more chaotic this round, where he was kind of throwing out names, whether that was to be just kind of in a survival mode, or he didn't really know where he wanted to kind of go with the rest of his game. He was throwing out Jazzy's name, he was throwing out Culp's name, he was throwing out Brian's name, and it seemed that made the players kind of weary of where he was headed. So even his allies, who he might have been really, really close with, who he might have wanted to work with until the end of the game, didn't know where he stood, and that made people kind of, cautious. And we saw a 6-1 vote for Matt, the 1 vote for Culp. And yeah, then we got down to our final 6. I believe personally Matt played a great game, especially today. I think I was been telling Kevin, I was kind of around Matt all day today. Matt really put his foot on the gas today and played in a phenomenal 4th day. So for him to go out kind of in this almost blaze of glory, was really, really cool to see. And I think that he showed up and he showed out, and it was a great thing to see. And so now he joins the jury as our 5th member. 5th member, yes. Yeah. Our 5th member of the jury. We ended our day with our final 6, with Taylor, Culp, Dave, Melissa, Jazzy, and Brian. So we have currently 1 original red, 1 original green, and 4 original Talos / Cream member tribe members. And yeah, which is an interesting mix.
No, it's a unique mix that we've got left. We got. I mean, I'm also trying to think of players who have played other live reality games versus people who are fresh into this, and I think it's just Brian. Everybody else has played a live reality game before. Yeah. Brian is the only one fresh to this, and also interesting, Brian got voted out. So we're left with 5 people that have played these games before, 1 person who hasn't, and got voted out originally, and so experience can matter in these games. I mean, it's interesting just to see all these dynamics of what tribes have lasted, what kind of cross-tribal lines, how the swap tribes take effect in all of this.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see, we won't pick it apart now, but how many people are left from each respective swap tribe.
Yeah, that part.
Well, let's see. Melissa and Jazzy work together. And then
Dave was also with Melissa and Jazzy, right? No, Dave was on Swap Cutler.
Dave was with Colt. So it was Taylor, Melissa, Jazzy.
Yep.
And then we have Dave and Colt. Okay, so we've got 2 from one swap tribe, 3 from the other swap tribe, and somebody brought back. So
interesting.
Just interesting dynamics. But to kind of close this out, we'll eventually get to our winner picks at the end of the day. But if y'all have a winner pick or somebody you're supporting, sound it off in the chat.
Please let us know.
Interested if you either want to know more about the person that you're supporting, if they're still in the game, or if you've been following along, your people are out, and who you think is going to win this game. But in a quick kind of summary of everything, started the game with 11 people, or started this morning with 11 people, down to 6 people. We saw 5 different challenges today, some of my favorite challenges today. And now we're down to the final 6. So as a recap, on day 2, at the end of day 2, Isaiah's winner pick was Brianna. Mine was Melissa. At the end of day 3, I switched mine to Jazzy. Isaiah switched his to Tyler. And then at the end of day 4, where's your head at?
I have now switched. So I will be honest. My pick throughout the day, and Kevin can attest, I kept saying Matt. I was planning to go into this day 4 recap saying Matt. And unfortunately, I can't say that because Matt is no longer in the game. But so I am currently on the Jazzy train. I think that Jazzy has really, as someone who has seen her play other games and see how she's very direct. She's always been a very direct person. And for some reason, usually that rubs people the wrong way. I feel like in this game, her directness is actually more respected. I feel like she's able to make moves and she's able to make those relationships because she's very vocally honest about this. She says, she's like, I'm not going to be good in immunity challenge, right? She's like, I'm not probably going to win a lot of immunities, which I think that's why yesterday with the ring toss challenge, when she won, she was like, it's something that she's probably new to, right? She's not used to being able to compete in those challenges the way that other people are. So for her to be able to say, you know what, I can't even look at the outplay, right? The outplay version of Survivor, the outplay factor of Survivor. I have to do the outwit, and I have to do the outlast. And she's playing it really, really well. I will say, even though that is currently my winner pick, I do believe that she has one of the tougher roads ahead looking at her competitors. But I think that if she were to get to the end, she's one of the people that's currently left that has the strongest pitch to win. And I think she is somebody who can be very convincing. As we've seen, she's very convincing in just a voting aspect. And when she's into, because her name had come up a couple of times today through people, whether it was just like word of mouth or just like a potential target, but we can't do it just yet. I think that's what she wants because I think she's like, as long as it's like, oh yeah, you can mention my name, but as long as you're not writing it down, cool. Because we haven't seen a single vote for Jazzy yet, and that's shocking to me. Yeah. So I'm really, 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 really rooting for her. You can see that she really wants this, and she has really, really worked her butt off to get to this point. So that's why I'm going with Jazzy, and I guess that technically is my final guess and my prediction for going into tomorrow.
Yeah. I mean, Jazzy was my pick yesterday. I'm not going to pick her again, but I echo a lot of your sentiments of she's in a good spot.
Yeah.
People aren't shouting Jazzy's names from the rooftop. And she's pretty well insulated. I mean, any of these people on the four people on Cream, like, you're pretty well insulated.
Yeah.
Oh, I am torn between 2, and I'll give you my take on 2, and I'll leave you with 1, which is Melissa, my day 1 pick. I have been so impressed with her game. She has shared a lot about how in previous games she has been a very big player in terms of big on social strategy, big just like doing well in challenges, but just gets clocked as a threat and can't seal the deal. And so she's been pushing her gameplay a little bit down, being a little bit more under the radar. And I'm hearing it from other players too. They're like, not seeing a lot from Melissa. and maybe even from the jury, we're worried that they're not seeing a lot from Melissa. But I think with the win that she just got today and the momentum that she might be able to keep going, I think she's got the chance to win it. But in terms of my official winner pick, and for the sake of switching things up, I'm going to switch it over to Brian.
Yeah.
I do think that Brian is playing a really good game, and I hope to God, if he gets to the end, which he has a good shot in getting to the end, that he brings up the hunting ground circle and how he handled that. Like, he needs to paint that picture of this man fought for himself. And again, like I said yesterday, if you haven't seen this hunting grounds and how they got back in, that is something on these streams worth watching. Go back and relive that for yourself. 100%. Brian gamed that so well. And as far as coming back into the game, to my knowledge, like, he's done a pretty good well of getting himself back in there. His name has been pretty much tossed around almost every tribal council as an option. Mm-hmm. He's had his name written down a couple of times, either one or two times, but is still like doing pretty well. He's tried to kind of manage to put himself into little groups of 3, 4, 5 here and there. I've seen it. So I think his uphill battle is going to be whether the jury can respect a hunting grounds win or not. Yeah. I think he's got a good shot to get to the end.
And I think as well, too, because we kind of talked about it yesterday, I think he did the right thing of, like, where he sat back. Yeah. He sat back, he talked to people, he did what he had to do, but he even today, just out in the field, he wasn't very, well, he had his little quips here and there, made people laugh here, but he wasn't, like, as, I don't want to say abrasive, just as vocal as he had been probably day 1, day 2, which I think he understood. He took the notes he got from the hunting grounds, applied it to his life in this brand new tribe, and throughout the day, a lot of people were saying, I kind of don't want to take out Brian. Why take out Brian? What's the point? And that's good for his game, and I agree. As long as if he can get to the end and he can explain himself in that way, and I totally didn't even think about that. The hunting grounds night, if he can display that and explain that, the way that he got back into the game was genius, because it was just this fast-paced, like, Trader's Mini within 5 minutes, and it was phenomenal. So he does have a chance. It's going to be hard. Yeah. I think, honestly, really for anybody on this cast right now who's currently left in this game. Each of them have different journeys. Each of them have different games from different perspectives. And at the end of the day, if you're a fan of Survivor, it depends on how the jury sees your game, and it depends on how you can display your game to the jury to maybe change their perspective on you. Because they might have a solid thought of, like, I know exactly how you played, I know exactly who you are, and that's why I don't want to vote for you. It's your job as that finalist to say, you know what, actually, you don't know me. Actually, you forgot about this, and convince them. And it's going to take a lot for these players to do at night. But I think Brian could do it. I think Jazzy could do it. I think really anybody that's left could really do that and take that win. But I am curious, because I don't think we've had asked this at all this whole time, but she has just joined us. Alicia, who would you say is currently your winner pick left in the game?
And if you need a second, there's a couple of...
So here's the thing.
You got it.
I was just out by the fire, and I was listening in to the jury chit-chat about how they were feeling so far.
Ooh, tell us.
So do we feel like right now we want to know that, or do we want to anticipate?
That's up to you. You're the one with the information.
That's true. So I will say, right now, I think 2 of the people they were talking through in their mind... Oh.
Why not?
So they were talking about Culp. They think he's a big player, and they don't think he can get to the end, but I think right now they're all respecting Culp as, like, a big player and potentially a big threat, and might be willing to vote for him. They were also... It's been interesting. I think a lot of them didn't realize the kind of game Melissa was playing. Melissa has talked about wanting to downplay her game and mute her game. And now that they're comparing notes, I think they're like, oh, I didn't know Melissa was doing all that. I think they're gaining some respect for Melissa that they might not previously have now that they're swapping tidbits. So we'll see. But
So your answer.
What's your answer?
Now you have this extra tidbit that we didn't know about. Or if you don't want to be put on the spot.
Oh, no, I don't care.
She said, I got an answer.
So mine would be Melissa at this point, actually, if she can make it there. So
I hear that.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
Well,
All right. And again, also, please sound off of what you are feeling if you. Oh.
there.
Yeah, hold on, we
I was
have,
like,
we
where
have
are
a whole
you
contraption here. There we go.
We're back.
Please let us know in the comments what you are feeling. We love to hear like what are your thoughts, what are your winner picks, how are you feeling after day 4? This is a there we go. This has been a long 4-day, almost 5-day journey, and yeah, we'd love to hear you guys sound off in the comments. But real quick, I'm just gonna kind of see what was going on here. Love hearing this. I agree. And then Brian has the once villain growth. Oh yeah, 100% Jordan. Absolutely.
I think folks, and I recount a confessional from Melissa today of saying, Brian's actually a lot more like me than, like, I think I like to admit, of like, you know, she's like, I think maybe in this game less so because I've been withholding some of my words, some of my thoughts. But when Brian says things, she's like, I agree, and the normal me in this game would say those things. But
true.
she's like, I'm trying to downplay my game, and so I'm just not going to say those aloud. But Brian's saying them. And so to me, that tells me that, like, Melissa and Brian have been able to connect, and there is a relating point. And Melissa was somebody who wrote Brian's name down and voted him out of this game. And now they're working together again.
Right.
And I think that that's the beauty of it, is you can write somebody's name down and still work with them. And so I think testament to both Brian and Melissa's games, like, I don't know, Brian, Melissa, Jazzy, those are the names that are like in big bold letters. Like, we might get our winner right there.
All Talos though too.
Yeah.
All OG Talos. They have been rocking it for sure. So yeah, I'm excited. I can't believe that we're down to our final day. We're starting day 5 with 6 people, which I think is crazy, but I'm so excited for it. Like I said, I think everybody that is left in this game is a deserving winner in their own right. And it just, again, comes down to what the jury decides and how they feel, and that's just the game of Survivor. That's exactly how it goes. And yeah, I'm really excited. I can't believe we're actually here. Also, yeah, it was flannel night, by the way, if you can tell. We look like this.
Lumberjack night. Hey.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
That is it for us tonight. We got a whole day of
kudos to the cream team.
The cream team.
Kudos to the cream
They called
team.
themselves the Creamsicles once, and I hated it.
Yeah, the swamp tribe
It
called
was
themselves
very
the cream
confused.
schools.
Oh, is that why they called themselves
The
that?
cream-
I was like, that's a weird name.
They
Very
called it the
strange.
creamsicles, yes.
Well, they also called themselves Talos Swift.
Talos.
Okay.
Yeah, they were pandering to me a little bit because I was wearing Taylor Swift sweatpants. But I liked
They're
it.
making it hard to root for me.
And fun fact, they were like, oh, Talos with new Talos.
Yeah.
So that's how I kept track. I just kept looking for Taylor and being like,
Taylor.
okay, that's her tribe is new. Taylor. It worked.
Oh, man.
Well, that is all for tonight.
Yes.
It is late. It's late for y'all. It's late for us. We've got a whole other day ahead tomorrow. We're going to go down from the final 6 to our finalists at the end.
And
So
a
we've got
winner.
some challenges coming ahead, and it'll be the end of this beautiful game that is Can You Survive?
Yes.
So excited to see you all bright and early tomorrow morning. Tune in. You'll see Alicia's face and some beautiful challenges going on.
And we're going to have our 7th winner of Can You Survive?
Oh,
So excited.
Our last winner before All Stars.
Oh, baby. Get excited for All Stars.
Bye.